Okay. Oh, hi, I'm Sonia, in case you don't know me. Sorry to be keeping you from your cocktails. Most of you are starving. Most of you are very cold, very sleepy, very overloaded with inspiring things, and I'm just going to share with you my very messed up life. Yay. Oh, I'm also probably the youngest person who is taking the stage and also the person who has most tattoo. That is something that I take pride in. Like literally, seriously. I wore long sleeve because it's cold at Four Seasons, because they pay for the AC. That's what you get with a very expensive venue. They give you free AC. Okay, so... Oh no! Okay, so basically the talk is going to be a short one about my life that is 34 years long, going to 35. And what I have learned from relationships. So thank you, Oceana, thank you, Prestige team, for putting me last because it made me very nervous for the past 4 hours. That is something that is very, also it was nerve-wracking because all of you are talking about achievement, leaders, like pulling through shit, where I am in the middle of like coming out from like a 7 months like depressive, messy, chaotic reorganizing period, which I lost like 15 pounds and regained like 20. The last time I checked, I was 130. That was the heaviest. That is the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and I feel happy. That is amazing. Okay, so the lesson that I want to take you like on like a 15 or 12, maybe 12-minute journey is to tell you a very simple message that I'm going to give you like right now. So if you want to just get the message, you can like read the title, you can want what you want, remember it, take a photo, post it on IG and leave. That's perfectly okay. I won't be heartbroken. Students miss my class all the time. And so today, like we are talking about women of power, and then so there's a lot of power talk, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of encouragement and wisdom. And I asked myself, of course, I don't feel like a woman of power. Oceana put me on the pedestal. I feel very happy. We had a chat one day over drinks, Prosecco. Oceana like Prosecco. I'm very happy that I got it right. And she told me she has always thought about me as a comfortable and confident person, which I was like, for people who I know, like sometimes I would be like very flashy. So, completely like feeling very good about myself, but most of the time I'm not. Like for people who are really, really close to me know that I'm not, like not generally. And so I asked like one very interesting question. So today we have like a lot of answers to this like question. It can be empathy, it can be from like pure support of women, it can be a lot of things. And for me, so I asked myself this question, where does my power come from? And I realized it's from trying to control the pointer. The most, for me, where my power comes from, it comes from understanding myself. And that is something that took me a very, very, very long time to arrive at. I mean, of course, like more later, not giving it. Understanding yourself is one thing, and respecting it is another thing. So you know yourself, you know something, like copying Vera, my very good friend who are matching outfit from Barcelona. So you know something, you know it, and what you decide to do with it, right? And so you might understand yourself, you might know your whole backstory, 20 years of diet, whatever thing that you're facing, but respecting it is another thing. And so today, I am going to share with you, I am on the journey of sharing with you the 5 people I met on my way to, very interestingly, when I was discussing with Vera, she was saying that you were not going anywhere, but to meet yourself again, or to meet yourself for real. And so that's like person number 1. So I'm going to tell you about the 5th person. And this person, I would rather not name because this is a very horrible person that I've met in my life. And he is probably not the scariest person that I've ever met in my life, but he is like enoughly scary. So the person that is before this person is my father. I have a very troubled relationship with my father. I've grown up knowing that I am more like him than anyone else on earth, and he loves me. Like he absolutely loved me, and as I grow older, I know I took after a lot of things from him as a person because he's someone who I look up to. the way I take care of my queer children, the way I take care of my friends, the way I require myself to be a person who is useful to people around me, to take people under my wing or whatnot. I mean, if I literally can. All of those stuff, I take it after my father. And but then I also have the most troubled relationship with him because how similar we are as a person and how much we love each other. He is like a Chiu guy. Like, so for those of you who are from Hong Kong, you know that they're like the most old school, conservative, misogynistic like region in like the whole of China. I mean, he was okay. He was not misogynistic. He has 2 daughters. He didn't complain. He is very proud of us, but he also has a lot of problem about, of course, he struggled with masculinity, and he also have a lot of problem expressing himself. And so that comes in where we are trying to communicate, and he couldn't communicate love properly. He couldn't communicate with anyone properly. And the most difficult thing that he had was to communicate his trouble to other people. When he was running a business and he was running it to the grounds, when he was in debt, when he was like facing various trouble, trying to put food on the table, to keep a roof above our head, he kept it all to himself, but then he was also like not keeping it all to himself. He was like, basically he was like a walking like bomb, and the house and whatever doesn't feel right for him. He would like leash out on people, and it was heartbreaking. And so I have this like, okay, I'm just gonna tell, like, don't put it on prestige. My father was involved in triad, was involved in a triad when he was younger, because it was a very different time. Every other person who tried to like make a living without being harassed by other forces would be in the triad. And so he is this like scary Chiu-Jiao ex-gangster like father that I had, which completely was like so scary as a younger person, because I was like, I mean, our whole family was reliant on him, and he was like basically like a dictator tyrant situation in the family. And I was like completely traumatized, very scared, and have like the most depressive teenage years, especially when his business was like shit. And so at that time, I never feel very safe at home. There was like, it was like more passive aggressive, like cold, like violence that was going on, and I was so scared. And so with that, I carried that burden with me into the first like serious relationship that I have with a man. I'm a pansexual person, by the way, so anyone wants my number, like, you can ask me. Okay, so I went into this person who was like around 10 years older than me. Age is a very important thing because I keep on going back to men that were older than me. And I mean, personal preference aside, I mean, you're entitled to like anyone. But then it took me many years to realize that it was less about the person than their specific needs or specific traits that I am looking for in that person that is fulfilling my need or filling in a certain lack in my life. And this person is a very scary person. This person is basically, he is, how do you put it? So he abused me in the relationship, sexually, physically, psychologically, in every way that you can think about. I walk out of this relationship being completely scarred, PTSD, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, anything that you can think of. Suicidal as well, of course. But then, of course, like it took me many, many years. I couldn't pay for like psychiatrists, and I wasn't sure why I got into this relationship apart from me being young, stupid, and blind. But then it took me so many more years to realize that the reason why I chose this person, who is an abuser, basically, is that I want a sense of safety. Because despite all the scary things that he is someone who is older, who comes from a very solid family background, who has a temper, and I thought would be a good countermeasure for the scary father that I had at home. So I want to feel safe with someone who feels like, who is more aggressive, who is more masculine, who is even scarier than my father, so that I can feel protected. So in times, if I need to confront with my father, that person could be in the place and be whatever like he needs to be my shield. That is a very not healthy logic, of course. And then comes the second person. So remember, I walked out of this like 21? No, 24. Okay, fast forward. So it took me 3 years to be away from this horrible person. It took me 10 more years to walk out of my depression. PTSD is still struggling. And I went into a relationship that very interestingly lasted for 10 years. I just broke up with that person, by the way, and he's not here today. And so I walked into a relationship that lasted for 10 years. And this person is called Kin. Kin is a lovely, adorable human being. He was also in the same program as I was when I was doing my PhD. We ran into each other on a glorious winter afternoon, and when he, 1 or 2 weeks after he turned 21. So we spent 10 years of our lives together, very formative years. And remember, he was having depression at that time because of relationship issue. I was completely traumatized and covered with scars. I have panic attack constantly. A million things triggers me. And so we nurtured each other back to health. And of course, like the good days pass and the worst day and the bad days come. And we went into like a 5 to 6 years like struggle, like a period of struggle where of course, there are enough loving component between the two of us that we stayed together. But it was also extremely painful because we're not having sex. And that is something that is very, 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 very serious to me. Because like Vera, I have struggled for the longest time with my body image. And I realized that, of course, like, and at that sector, so like, you remember that I've been through sexual assault. And it happens that I'm someone who enjoys sex immensely because it is a very important love language to me. So imagine being raped and having and enjoying sex a lot. Trying to find your way back to your orgasm, very difficult. Trying to have a healthy relationship with sex within a relationship where you have to communicate or you can feel love only through intimate encounter is like a PhD thesis. Very, very difficult. And then, so with Kin, I struggled for the longest time because we had been together for like 10 years. So every step of the way we were changing, like every 3 year, every 5 year, every 7 year, we enter into a different life stage. And we grew apart and he no longer relate to me, we no longer relate to each other in the same way and we just don't have sex. We couldn't find a way of expressing and communicating and relating to each other in a sexual way. And that, I thought, was like normal. Because like people stop having sex after a while, right? If like people who are married for like a million years, they just like move on to other things, find other ways of expressing their love and not have sex like teenagers. But that was, something was eating me up. And I didn't know what it was. I was trying to tell myself that it doesn't matter. I try to tell myself that it doesn't matter because it's just the way it is. We still love each other. We still support each other. We are very good together. He is the most humorous person on earth for me. But it didn't work. Then I could not get to the part where I was saying that like what he is good for. He's actually like a great human being who gave me all the space in the world because before, when I was in that relationship with that horrible like abuser, he is trying to like Vera's ex-boyfriend, trying to mold me into some like cookie mold perfect good Chinese wife, which I'm not. And so Patrick, being this amazing human being that he is, he's non-judgmental, he is open, he supports feminism, he understands the work I do, and he gives me all the space, being in his very relaxed, like sloth-like way. He gives me all the space for me to be whatever I want to be. So this is going to take like longer than, so like I hope that you're not very thirsty. Me trying to share my life here. And so he is this amazing person who gives me the space. No space. The space for me to be, to develop like over the past 10 years into whatever that you're seeing now. But then, okay, that spacing aside, but then remember the sex part, right? Like the no sex part was completely eating me up because the no sex part was just like the surface, like what Vera was showing is the tip of the iceberg. deep inside, I want acceptance and honesty, acceptance and love and nurturing. But that aside, because I'm going to get to Vera and Chantel, who are like my two best friends in the whole wide world, and because I'm not going to only talk about my relationship with men because it's boring and it's trivial. Support. So, like over the past 10 years, I've grown into somewhat like a moderately like recognizable person who does a lot of like random stuff in arts and culture and LGBTQ activism among other stuff. But I chose a very different life path than most of my friends around me. Most of my friends around me, I have a group of like secondary school friends who are all married, all have children, and I am, me and the other lesbians are the only person who are not married, basically. And so I'm in a place where people around me don't necessarily understand the work that I do. They are thinking about going mid-level management, becoming partners of law firms, and I am stuck with like a PhD with like 3-year full-time working experience and very precarious working condition, but also like no one understands what I do, basically. Like very little people understand what I do. And then very miraculously, I'm not going to tell the story of how we met each other, but then I end up being able to work with two amazing women from completely random background. And we started a thing called the Woman Festival, which might not be happening this year, but we have been, I'm going to brag. I'm literally going to brag. Because like the Woman Festival is like I think one of the few only arts and cultural or any kind of event that did not stop for any like period of time over the past 5 years. And that is like the movement, COVID, and everything, right? And so we did not stop. So this is like two crazy women with like crazy perseverance, but that is not the main point. The main point is that I ran into these two women not knowing what I am going to learn about myself from our relationship, because I felt, of course we are like the closest friend now, but then the thing I learned about myself the most is that I realized that I have never felt supported in that way because I have never had people who understand me intimately in that way and that we are equals. Because I've always like either worked under other people or that people are working under me, and being on the same level, having mutual understanding, going through similar struggles mean that you can connect with them and just be yourself and be able to be vulnerable, be able to be like complete rubbish, as we sometimes would put it. Like we know that we can be complete rubbish, break down at times, complete burnout, and then the other person, you have someone that is next to you who understands you, who you have like complete trust in, and you know that they're going to take over when you're not functional. And that is something that is completely precious, because as someone like who believes that you're a strong woman, who knows that you have to achieve more so as to be recognized as a woman who in any kind of workplace, you, like what Angelina was saying, that you either always is pitched against each other, or that you don't trust yourself enough, or that you have to be extra strong. You have to get an A+ in order to be recognized as a B. And so you never have that kind of support system where you can just be powerful, trusted, but also vulnerable. And for me, that was the thing that I learned through the relationship I have with Chantel and Vera and many more women here who we have worked together or will be working together. So this is like me trying to Tinder myself out. And then, okay, cutting back to my sex life, because it's very important to me, and you want to all like the juicy things before like happy hour. And so I ran into another person, which like they have been hearing too much about. So this is like the 10-year period thing going on. It's like feng shui or tarot or whatever things. Like 10 years is like a very like phase in your life where like thankfully I am coming out from the past 10 years and moving into the next 10 year. And so this 10-year loop with Kim and this next person actually feeds into each other. Because this is a person who I've met like 10 years ago on a summer's night in the neighborhood that I live in, against beautiful facade of traditional Chinese lanterns and stuff. It was so romantic. And last summer he came, we have like a 2-year passionate like friends with benefits situation. I think we somehow like each other for some period of time. Later on, he faded away from my life. We haven't contacted each other for 8 years. And then suddenly, he messaged me, asking me how I am. We met up at a bar. Him later on telling me that he thought that I would be married and have children because women who are 34-year-old in East Asia probably would do that, but I did not, and he was very happy. And so this person is a bisexual man from Southeast Asia, and he has been struggling for the longest time with his sexuality, which he is gradually coming into terms with. And he runs into me again. Both of us are married. I am in an open relationship, free to date anyone, free to fuck anyone, and so we fuck each other. And it was amazing. It was like one of the best like intimate encounter that I've ever had. It was life-changing. That I would give him credit for. The reason why it was amazing, it was not because it lasted like a very long time. It was not because we share very kinky tastes that no one shares. But it was because when he and I look each other in the eye, we know that we have found someone who understands each other and they accept, and the other person accepts us for who we are. And that was life-changing. Because for a pansexual woman who is into BDSM, who is in an open relationship, who probably likes sex a bit too much, for like your partners to be scared away or to tell you that like, darling, I can't. Can't you think about anything else? I mean, I have been struggling for the longest time with slut shaming and body shaming and having to live with like very unsatisfactory sex life. But fundamentally, I feel like I'm not accepted as a person. If this is my love language, can you not try to communicate with me in that way? And so it is me, of course, also coming out from like sexual abuse and everything, trying to love my body and trying to find someone who loves my body as much as I do. Because whenever people reject my sexual request, I will feel like because they feel like I'm a victim. Because they don't want to touch me because of all the scars I have on my body. And so that is like the fundamental need that I have. But he is someone who knows me for a very long time. He knows my backstory, and we fuck each other like all the same. And so for me, I ran into this person even though he is emotionally completely unavailable. His life is a mess. He has drug problem. He has alcohol problem. He has like a lot of problem in his life. But at least I learned that I have to, no, this is like a huge gigantic typo you will see later on. It will turn into another word. That if I am to be the person that I am, if I am to be powerful, if I ever want to be powerful, I would have to at least be honest with myself that throughout the past 5 or 6 years, trying to brainwash myself, telling myself that I don't need sex, is denying myself of the acceptance that I actually need. So you see, Lala, honesty turned into acceptance, huh? Yeah. To denying myself of the acceptance that I actually need to function to my fullest. Because by not being honest with myself and I'm actually not accepting what I really, like who I really am. I mean, I can be a feminist who supports sexual liberation, but fundamentally I feel like I am hurting people with my sex. Or that I believe, on one hand, I believe that my experiences and trauma inform me as a person, inform my work, and give me the ability to be sympathizing or empathizing with other people, but fundamentally, I feel like I am a damaged good. And so if I can't accept that about myself, how can other people accept me? Probably it doesn't work that way, but it doesn't matter. And so that fast forward to my last, like the most recent addition to my amazing role of human being, who is like almost like all good and not just like good and bad. So my partner who is sitting here, like you'll meet him in a bit. He's completely amazing. But then the thing about meeting him is like the most scary experience like ever. Because the things that I took 10 years to cover up, like to be burying, like sweeping under carpets or whatever, have been like just like gone carpet, welcome dust. And so I have been having this most like turbulent roller coaster experience where it is not like he is trying to peel off whatever like scars, like whatever bandages that I've been applying on my scars, like, and trying to brainwash myself into believing that I'm actually all healed and good. And one of the biggest things that I learned from this relationship was like, especially like that I have to break up with like Patrick, who I've been dating for 10 years, is that I, as a person, to be functional, even in an open relationship, is that I need to feel important. And I think, of course, like people understand or perceive or express importance in very different ways. Some people marry only one person. Like, so monogamy is one way of like convincing the other person that you are very extremely important, that I'm not going to fuck anyone and I'm not going to be in a relationship with anyone for the rest of my life. So that is one way of like communicating importance. But there are like many ways of communicating importance, and for me, it's a bit tricky because I can't literally tell you why. I can't literally tell you how. I can't say that, okay, just marry me, put a ring on my finger, and then I'll be settled for life. I'll feel happy. Like, it doesn't work that way. But then I, like, okay, through this relationship that I'm developing with my like partner, I realized that this person has a quality that I admire. But for a very long time, I push it to the very back of my head because I think that it is old school, it is like tyrannical, it is anti-sexual liberation, it is like anti-like freedom, autonomy, agency, or whatever that is. I want to feel important, not because of a misguided like sense of like inflated like self-worth, but I want that person, I want to feel like that person takes me seriously, and for that to be communicated across, it takes a certain kind of ability or ability to make a decision of committing to me in an existential sense. That sounds like rocket science, I know. But then I think in short, like very vulnerable. I'm just gonna blame everything on vulnerability. The thing about it is I have been in this relationship with the second person who is called Space, for a very long time, where he is a complete open person, but he is also someone who doesn't function in the same way as I do. He is also someone who is looking for like open arrangement in his relationship. He loves me so much. He loves my family so much. But he is also someone who literally say in my face, saying that I don't function that way. I don't have like the most important person in my life. Each person has their own importance, or they have their own place in my life, and I just can't give you what I want. Like, I just can't give you what you want. And that, for the past like 5 or 6 years, without me knowing, eats me up. It creates this horrible vicious cycle of me being possessive because I feel insecure, and him constantly rejecting the one love language that I value the most. And it is only when I encounter this new like partner that I have in my life that I realize that why the hell would I be trying to hypnotize myself and trying to deny myself for the once most important love language that I actually like that is important to me. And so the thing that I learned about not like learn about, but it's more like the thing that I realized, like that was like, it's just like, actually this comes from a rave. This comes from a rave, like conversation at a rave that I share with my new like group of party-going friends over drinks, or too much drinks, was saying that we need to begin to learn to ask yourself a question. When someone is in your life or coming into your life, ask yourself, what is that person? Like, who are you? What are you? What do I want in life and in a relationship? And is that person fulfilling those needs, those wants? Like going back to Vera and a lot of like you who said about like core value. when I was Berkeley saying reliability, trustworthiness. Does that person fit into that? Is that person giving me the kind of acceptance that I need? Because like what Candace was saying, it becomes very, when you grow up in an environment as a woman, or as a younger person or as anyone, it's very difficult to say no. It's very difficult to say no to relationship that comes to you. It's very difficult to say no to people. And gradually we have all this semi-subpar, not very satisfactory, not very nurturing relationship in our lives, where the other day I had a tarot card reading, and the priestess was telling me something that I find this metaphor very useful. Imagine you are a gardener, and you are growing your own garden. And so when you were younger, you see every single seed and every single plant that was donated to you or whatever when your friends is moving out, and then they have 3 cactus that you don't actually like, but you keep it anyway. And so over time, you have a garden that is okay, growing, but not something that you love or need, or doesn't nurture you, or doesn't fulfill your goals or needs at this moment. And so you have this immediate environment, which I think you would have to recognize that we are surrounded by people. And so relationship, friendships, family, lovers, colleagues, whatever that we have, is our immediate environment. And we just let it grow into a place where it kind of is functional, but doesn't necessarily always fulfill you or nurture you in the most fruitful way. And so you look at all those plants, and so over the past 7 months, I have been looking at my garden. I've been looking at re-inspecting the relationship that is around me. And I ask myself this question constantly: do I want you in my life? And more than once, I realized that, no, sorry. And so instead of trying to fill in the lacks that I have for fearing rejection, for fearing that no one loves me, I now begin to be able to see that what I actually need and build, first of all, a checklist, of course, check, a checklist of what I really need and what things that are really important to me, and then to gradually build a filter, or what Candace was saying about building boundaries. So if these are the needs that I have, and if that person is not fulfilling the need of me as a person, for me to grow and to feel supported, then sorry. And so the lesson, basically, of sharing my, to taking too long to be sharing my life with you, is that we are not passive recipients in interpersonal encounters. You are in the position of choosing the kind of relationship we want in our lives. And no, don't clap, it's not ending yet. It's okay that you need what you need and that you want what you want. You can want what you want, unlike me having forced myself to start with a very unsatisfactory sex life for 6 years. You can actually want what you want, stand by it, and stand by yourself, and have a very lovely evening. Thank you.